Darling, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Yes, but it's a positive thing, Paul. The high life, the shy life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
Hello, Paul.
Delicious.
This particular episode of the Shy Life is a little more abstract than usual.
Oh,
Okay, it looks like the hairy guy is ready to record. 3, 2, 1.
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. Do you think he has?
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? Oh, I'm all right. Well, this time we're going to be talking about some more music, but we're not in the 70s anymore. We're still doing all that, but we're hopping ahead to the 1990s. We've got Lee here this time. Hi Lee, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine. I'm looking forward to going, yes, I like it. No, I didn't like it. Which is, yes, no. Well, 1996, it's probably fair to say it's the year of the Spice Girls. At least it's the year that they emerged. So pop is changing. I think there's still a bit of sort of Brit poppy type things around to keep me interested. So, so yeah, hopefully there's going to be something. We won't hate it all, I hope. Anyway, we're going to run the theme music, and then when we come back, we'll get talking.
It's time for my old buddy, old pal from across the channel, across the pond, Bob Chandler, the Shy Yeti.
he's not that shy. Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast. Yeah.
All I wanted was a pie.
And then I hatched out of an egg. Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Boy, he's not all that shy is right.
Blimey, Governor. It's the Shy Life podcast.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
He's positively glowing.
And we're back. So yes, 1996. What were you up to? You're probably not much different than you were up to in 1995, but...
Oh, let me have a think. 1996. I think I was still working in a hospital. If it's the year that the Spice Girls got popular, then I was probably collecting those blow-up Spice Girl giveaway dolls that they were giving away in some sort of magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was incredibly mature back then as well.
I was doing in 1996. I finished university, and it took a little while to find a job, even though my degree was vocational to a particular career. But I did take a 6-month job, and I was halfway through that. And weirdly, I'd gone to university in Birmingham, and then I went back for 6 months after I'd finished, and you know, that kind of pleased me because the video stuff I was making at the time, Sutton Park, that was based that's a name of an area in Birmingham. So I got to go back to the actual the area of Sutton Park again for 6 months. So it was, as I was still making the series, it was kind of I kind of chuffed to sort of be back, even though all the people I used to know at university had all gone away, and so it was a little bit. I guess it was a little bit lonely, although I did make friends with somebody who lived in the same, because I went back to the same. It was very weird, really. I went back to the same lodgings. It just happened that my room was still free at where I'd lodged. So I made friends with somebody who was in the room where my old uni friend had been living, and so it wasn't. I think I used to go away a lot at weekends as well. But yeah, so that was a bit weird. And then I moved to Surrey for another job,
and that's sort of why I'm still there now. So it was quite a sort of a year of change and stuff. But I was just going to look on sort of some of the events that happened in '96. I can't read them all, but some of the ones that jump out at me is I don't even think I knew this happened. Apparently, on the January the 8th, Robert Hoskins is found guilty and convicted on charges of assault, stalking, and threatening to kill Madonna.
I have no recollection of that whatsoever.
No, me neither.
Was that when she was in? Was that when she was in London, pretending to be British? Oh, it wasn't that. It wasn't then, was it?
A bit earlier. It's sort of. I guess it's sort of when she was probably working on Ray of Light album, because that was '97, I think so. But of course, who knows how long this guy was doing all this? Time things have come to court and everything. It's hard to sort of know when it was all going on, but I just don't remember hearing about that at all. But,
I don't at all. I don't remember at all.
In the same month, Lisa Marie Presley files for divorce from Michael Jackson.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah. The controversial musical Rent has its first public performance in New York. And I saw another one. In February, there was that notorious Jarvis Cocker disrupting Michael Jackson thing.
Yes. Yeah, very good though. It was deserved.
Yeah. Oh yes, I was definitely on Jarvis's side. What else? So much. Well, this was also around the time that the Beatles were releasing their those sort of songs that they did in that they had at their reunion when it was only really three of them but at least one of those songs did pretty well.
Was it about a bird?
There was one about a bird, and there was one called Real Love, which came out in 1996, but it was based on a John Lennon solo demo, so it wasn't. And then they collaborated to it posthumously.
I do remember that. I do.
A busy year for Madonna, because in April, Madonna announces she is 4 months pregnant by her boyfriend and trainer, Carlos Leon.
With Lourdes.
And what else? I cut out any gaps. Well, July is when the Spice Girls released their debut single, and so that's the beginning of an era. Although the more I sort of heard about them, that they were busy trying to get to that point for a number of years beforehand. It wasn't like an overnight.
I remember I used to buy a magazine called Sky magazine, which was kind of like a pop culture. It wasn't like a pop magazine. It had all sorts of stuff in it. And I do remember there was just these sort of like cryptic adverts in the Sky magazine with just like Spice and a ring, the gold ring, and you had no idea what it was. It was like one of those like sort of like teaser sort of promotions to kind of get the people going, what is this? What is this Spice that they're going on about? Yeah, quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough. I think that's enough facts and events, but we should probably get on to our first number one for 1996. We'll also do albums and some of the singles that didn't quite make it but did well. Gosh, there looks like there's quite a lot of over 20 number ones.
Wow.
Well, the first one, because I sort of going back to what I was up to very, very briefly, because I decided I wanted to go back to the lodgings that I knew, but my job was in West Bromwich and I was living in Erdington, and that was about 2 or 3 bus journeys, or maybe a bit of a walk down an abandoned railway line, which was quite a good location for filming. So sometimes I deliberately went down that way. But
it was around the time that Chris Evans was doing his radio show, and I think perhaps he'd only been doing it maybe since '95 or something. It was around the time he was doing don't forget your tooth. No, is it Don't Forget Your Toothbrush? Oh no, TFI Friday.
Oh yes,
Friday.
Yeah.
So he was about everyone. I didn't really listen. I'd never really listened to radio in the morning because, well, I suppose I'd been doing a paper round before university. When I was at university, you don't necessarily get up in time for radio, and I just decided to start listening to him because I think he sort of mentions. I did watch TFI Friday, and he used to have guests on and stuff, and sometimes it synced in with the radio show. So I just remember like waiting at bus stops. If the next song, my first thought is I can picture myself standing, because it would have been early in the year. I can picture myself waiting for a bus somewhere outside of West Bromwich, and it being very cold, and listening to this song. It's funny what gets stuck in your
musical
head.
Memories.
Yeah,
yes.
Even so many years later. So the first number one is George Michael, Jesus to a Child.
Oh,
which yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I mean, George Michael's pretty good level of quality, anyways. I'm not sure it's my favourite one of his, but it's that ballad, isn't it? It's a sad story behind it, I think, because wasn't it about his lover who died of AIDS? So a sad song, but. I always kind of feel bad about saying it wasn't one of my favourites. So it's kind of like... He does have another... I shouldn't give it away. He does have another number one coming up. And I sort of... Yeah, that's probably around the time I stopped working in that job. But, a lot of these early 96 songs are ones that I heard during my bus rides to work. Now... The next number one, I think I'm right in saying, was linked to an advert campaign, and I think it's sort of. I think the lead guy came from the Midlands where I was at the time. It's Babylon Zoo, Spaceman.
Oh yes, was it for jeans or something like that?
Yeah, I feel like it
Levi's or something like that.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find out, but yes, it was Levi's. Yeah, you know how these days kids download little things to have that when their phone rings, and little bleepy bits and small little tiny stuff. And I think I mean, it was very basic. I'd probably do the same thing on this show occasionally, but the singing was all distorted and kind of. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? Because it started off in one style, and then the chorus changed into a completely different style of music. It was a really odd. Was it called Jazz? Jazz Man.
Yeah, and I'm sure he was a one. I'm sure he was a one-hit wonder, and that was it, wasn't it? He didn't really have another hit.
I mean, the album did okay. It was top 10, number 6, and he did do another album a few years later, which nobody was interested in. He did have one other single that got in the top 20, and this is the one I don't know. I necessarily bought Spaceman, but the sequel was called Animal Army, and it was sort of ridiculous, slightly ridiculous. It was a bit like, I mean, I think he did get compared to like he was trying to be T-Rex now.
Oh, right, yeah.
Certainly Animal Army is a bit T-Rexy, but it had some really stupid, kind of stupid, but I kind of liked it because it was, but it had some line about leopards dancing and different animals dancing. But it's quite stompy and sort of glam rocky. And,
yeah, I vaguely remember it. It was kind of like that era of when an advert could shoot a song into the charts, wasn't it? Just solely being in an advert. I think we're a little bit more savvy nowadays, aren't we? We're kind of like a little bit more cynical and like, no, just because you played 5,000 times a day on an advert doesn't mean to say we're going to. Wasn't the that little puppet that was similar as well? That little puppet, the irritating Ozzo thing, wasn't it? That was.
Yeah, there was quite a few sort of around that time. He had one other single that did the top 40, "The Boy with the X-Ray Eyes," which again I think might have been. I have a feeling I liked the two later singles more than I liked Spaceman, but that'd be very typical of me anyway. But
yes, you're very indie anyway. So yeah, I think once that single had gone, the first single, I probably lost complete interest in it.
I mean, it might be that Chris Evans played the next single at least because of, I mean, a lot of those, a bit like the chart show used to play songs that they thought, oh well, we like this, and then they never actually got anywhere near the charts. But I did like the chart show for that reason, because it got me into sort of people I wouldn't have heard of if I'd just been following chart music. But,
it was like, did they have like a section on new release or? Yeah, did they have an unsigned bit as well? I don't know if they did.
At one point,
I just remember the terrible graphics of the of the roller coaster.
yeah. Now, Spaceman was, whereas George Michael was only number one for 1 week, Spaceman was number one for 5 weeks. So that it did stick around for a bit. Our next number one only stuck around for 1 week, but this is more of the sort of more Britpoppy. It's Oasis with "Don't Look Back in Anger."
Oh yes, that was kind of like their big song everywhere, wasn't it? It was like a hit in America and was like their international hit, I think.
I'm kind of surprised it wasn't for longer, because it was. I think if you ever hear sort of like or watch like a mid-90s sort of nostalgia show that's bound to turn up, it's sort of a really famous. I remember, I think I was quite excited about this one because in the video they had Patrick Whitney, who played John Steed in the Avengers, playing a butler, and I like I like the Avengers, so I was kind of like, it's more than I was interested in the song. But
was it in a big country house or something like that?
I think
with a swimming pool and something.
The car ends up in the swimming pool and stuff.
Yes.
Now, I remember this one particularly because now, was this the last single you'll know? Probably. It was Take That's version of "How Deep Is Your Love." Is that their last single that they released it before they split up?
It was, yes. And there was they did their press conference, didn't they, to kind of announce it. And I distinctly remember Gary Barlow saying something along the lines of, "That's it, there is no more. How Deep Is Your Love is our last single, and that's it." And I thought he was crying, but he wasn't. He was sniggering. And it was like, oh, okay, all right. It was a bit of a bland song to end with, wasn't it? If you think of all the...
Yeah, and also if it's a cover, it sort of feels like, well, you couldn't even be bothered to come back with an original final song.
Yeah, it's sort of like, see you later then, bye.
But I do remember at the time, there was a helpline, and I was still just about at this. I really liked working the place I worked at, West Bromwich, because it was for a business, and it was sort of, I guess we were looking for competitor information and different companies, and we were passing on. We're doing stuff for the company, but it was we were called Group Intelligence. It's so glamorous.
Sounds very MI5.
Yeah, it was sort of. It was one of my first library jobs, or my first library job, although it wasn't. It was more of facts and figures and doing inquiries, but it was. But there was the secretaries were really nice, and I got on quite well with everybody, and it was just. I remember that the breakup of Take That thing, and I'm not sure whether we were teasing them about it or whether they were playing up to it, or whether one of them they were actually upset that they'd.
I don't know. I think I do remember it, and I remember it being on the news. I think it's that kind of. I don't think we'd really had a boy band in this country that had been as massive as Take That, and so I think there was an element of genuine But there's that whole psychological reports on boy bands and girl bands and how fans invest in them, and when they split, it's almost like a bereavement, and it's like their first relationship. But as a slightly older person, when they split up, I did kind of find it a little bit funny, although it probably wasn't. I know. Do you remember people saying, "Lee, do you want the number for the Take That support line?" And I was like, "I'm getting through it by myself. It's okay."
I think I was only because I was more into my indie. I did own a couple of Take That singles, but I wouldn't have said I was a fan of the whole lot. I was beginning to have a warm feeling about Bobby Williams, which I'm probably more of a Bobby Williams fan than I am a Take That fan. Although I kind of like later era Take That a bit more because these days, you can't Take That apart from Coldplay, or, I think Take That are probably better than Coldplay. But really, Coldplay isn't a boy band; it's a serious rock band. But
no,
but you can't really tell the difference in the style of music. They sound like a very similar type of bands. But says he, not having listened to a Coldplay album in 15 years. Anyway,
I don't think I ever have.
They're one of those bands that sometimes the people doing cover versions do more interesting versions of their songs, I think. I kind of like them when they do. There was a good one that they did with Rihanna. Is it Rihanna? Something, a Princess of China or something.
Yes, yeah. They have had a couple of good songs, I have to say.
But then there's some that really annoy me because they're too popular and they get played too much. So, Well, our next number one is kind of you could want for anything different than Take That. It's The Prodigy with Firestarter. 3 weeks. I feel like that's the sort. I think a lot of people bought that album who wouldn't usually buy Prodigy albums, because I think my friend Harry bought that album, and it's not really his cup of tea. I think it was just so famous, that song, and maybe one or two of the other singles.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was like their height of popularity, wasn't it? It was kind of like a lot of bands had been around for years, and then they kind of have their breakthrough popular album, and then that's it. They kind of slide back into kind of fan base stuff. And I think for the Prodigy, that probably was their biggest time, wasn't it? With all those kind of massive songs, Firestarter, and what was it? Was it Breathe With Me, or was that? Am I just saying the lines off the?
Sure, Just Breathe.
Yes.
And then there was Smack My Bitch Up as well.
Oh, yes, it's very controversial.
That's the next year. Gosh, they managed to make this album the single stretch from 95 to 97. Well, that sounds. Firestarter 96. Yeah, just across 2 years, but still, this is quite early in '96. So,
but I think dance people liked it because it was a little bit dance music. Rock people liked it because it was a bit rock. So it kind of fused them together, didn't it? And made people go, oh, because was it called Fat of the Land, their album, or am I getting that confused with a?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Even. It definitely shows how famous it is. If we can remember all that sort of thing.
I know. I mean, massive Kylie Pop fan and going, oh yes, the Prodigy.
I don't know. It's one of those. I think those were sort of. I kind of liked it, but I don't think I ever went and bought anything. I don't think I ever had the album. But,
no, I did. I think my brother had the album because he was into that kind of stuff, and I probably was like, "Oh, play that one." The only one that I liked.
Yeah. Now, the next single, I remember again. This is sort of right at the end of my commuting around West Bromwich type time. We had Mark Morrison, "Return of the Mac." I think I was just very confused as to who is the Mac? Is this something I should be aware of? Is
The Daddy Mac.
Yeah. It was number one for 2 weeks, but I think it was around for a lot longer.
Yeah, he'd been around before, I think, and then, but I didn't like it. I wasn't keen on it. He was, in my opinion, he sounded a bit whiny on it, and it was kind of. I think he was trying to do that American sort of, bigging himself up, big blingy, everybody wants to know who I am, and then he never really had a hit again.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's have a look, see if we can find out. Apparently, it was number 2 in the States, but not till 97. But
okay.
Yeah, he had an album in 96 called Return of the Mac, and then another one in 2006. So yeah, not quite sure.
I think he had a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a sort, that people, he was quite awkward, difficult on chat shows and magazine. He believed the hype of himself, and then
he had a number 19 hit called Crazy in 95, and he actually had 4 more top 10 hits from that Return of the Mac album.
Oh, really?
A remix of Crazy that got to number 8. A remix of Crazy that got to number 6. A song called Trippin' that got to number 8. Horny that got to number 5. Moan and Groan that got to number 7. And then I don't know if it was an EP. He had one called Who's the Mac, got to number 13. And then Best Friend. Which, that's much later.
I have no idea about any of those other songs at all. No, I obviously did not feature on my radar. I wonder if you had ever had like a greatest hits album called Big Mac. That would have been good.
Yeah, it's quite possible. Right, let me get back to where I should be. Back to George Michael again. I said he had another number 1, and in May he had Fast Love. That got
good
number
one.
3, and I think even though that was May, I think it was I probably was hearing quite a lot of it just still in those last few weeks of my commute, because does that have a sample? Does that sample from something?
Yeah. Does it? It has this. Is it the sample of "Forget Me Not"?
Oh,
by
yes.
I don't know who it's by, but
Patrice Russian.
Yes. Yeah. And it was a massive number 1, and everybody loved it. But it wasn't until years later that you all realised that it was all about Rudy Doodiness, and him being a gay man. You just it's like one of those songs that you just sang along to because it had a good tune, and you didn't actually really realise what he was singing about. I do remember watching a making of the video, because the video was quite sort of futuristic, used a lot of like technology and stuff, and he I think it was around the time that he kind of first started saying that he used the herb to get him performance. Yeah.
Shocking.
I can't go on without some coriander.
Because didn't Will Young? Not even Will Young. Will.
Oh yeah.
Didn't Will Smith when he did like the Men in Black song? Wasn't that? Maybe that was. I can't remember if that was ripping off this or ripping off Forget Me Not.
Yeah, that also had a sample in it. Yeah.
It's very confusing. I think I was. If I wasn't aware that Fast Love had a sample, I probably just thought, Will Smith's stealing from Fast Love.
He's right.
Little did I know. Now I think this was a Eurovision entry as well, although it's one of those ones that I keep forgetting was a Eurovision song. Our next number 1 for 1 week was "Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit" by Gina G.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. Now we're in my playground, on my territory. Yeah, camp as a row of tents was that song. And where did it get to in the Eurovision? Was it like second or third? It did quite well, if I remember.
Yeah, I think it was. I know it performed second, but I have a feeling it was something like second.
And she kind of managed to have a career after Eurovision, which is quite unusual.
I only got to eighth, but but she did have other songs, as you say.
She did. She for a while. She was quite. She had a big selling album. I think it was called Fresh, and quite a few singles from that. I think there was Ti Amo and other ones that I can't remember. They all sounded very similar, I think. Yeah.
She had I Belong to You, number 5, Fresh, number 6, TMO, number 11. Those are the main 4. She had a couple of other ones that were lower.
On the front of her album, she was naked, covered in chocolate, if I remember.
She's copying me, how dare she? So following that, now this is a song that still haunts us, and I think we're probably in the charts this year because of football. It's Baddiel, Skinner, and the Lightning Seeds, 3 Lions. Now, I liked some Lightning Seed songs when they first, even going back to I remember when they did the song called it's one of those bands where it's really him, even if he's got other people with him. But I think one of the first singles was Pure, and I remember thinking that was like indie to me in 1989 or whatever. I felt I was being quite sort of, and I remember feeling quite disappointed or let down that how dare this person who'd done some songs I liked football enough to do a football song. And I perhaps thought that he was more, because he was sort of I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know that he was a record producer and was involved with sort of bands like I've forgotten their name. No, but involved with bands back in the 80s, and there was a lot more to him than I knew. But I think he projected a sort of loner type, and I thought, oh yeah, I quite like this. And then suddenly football song, I was like,
Yeah, I was a fan of the Lightning Seeds. The Jollification is an awesome album, and I still play that now. And I was really upset when COVID hit because they were going to play it in its entirety in concert. But yeah, this song, no, not for me. It's fine because it's a football thing and people like football. And it was recently dragged out again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because of the kickball tournament. But yeah, it doesn't feature on any of my playlists.
No. And the next number one I had problems with. Not that there's anything terribly wrong with it, just that I liked the original and didn't think that the new version brought much to it. It was Killing Me Softly by the Fugees. And I just didn't like all the sort of one time.
Oh yeah, I didn't. I think I bought it. I didn't mind it. I quite liked it. Yeah, 2 times. Yeah.
I also think that the original, the Roberta Flack version, was one I don't quite know how I'd heard it over the years. I kind of, it was a little song that I'd found. I know at the time it was well famous, but sort of maybe in the late 80s or early 90s, it wasn't the song that you heard much. And I kind of decided, I quite like this song. Nobody ever plays it. Suddenly it was all over the place in a different version. And I remember when was it Boyzone did Baby Can I Hold You Tonight, and I really liked the original version.
I can't quite get the Fugees and Boyzone in the same in the same hemisphere.
But it's just when people do cover versions, it become massive again, and you kind of think. And I've forgotten who did Tracy Chapman.
Yes,
I think Tracy Chapman's version didn't even make the top 40, and I think. How on earth? It's not fair. I hope
I think it was kind of like, if a boy band, sang the Telephone Director, it would have been a hit. It was those days, wasn't it? It was kind of like, yeah. I didn't mind I preferred the follow-up, which was called Ready or Not. I liked that one better. And then that was the end of my interest in the Fugees. I was very fickle in those days.
Yeah. Well, the next 2 number ones we'll skip over very quickly because
After the Fugees, Killing Me Softly, it goes back to Baddiel, Skinner, and the Lightning Seeds with Three Lions again for another week. And then following that, it goes back to Killing Me Softly by the Fugees for 1 week.
Oh, we had those uppy downy things.
Yeah. Now, the next sort of unique number one is that he must have been busy working on his solo album, because it's Gary Barlow with Forever Love for 1 week. So he must have been working on that. He must have known for a while that they were going to get rid of.
Yeah, he was like, I'm just nipping up. Where are you going, Gary? Nowhere. Just down the shop.
Just gonna look for Robbie, see if I can get him back.
Just gonna go and get a packet of hula hoops. I'll be back soon.
Just gonna leave a trail of what's it. If we can get him
I did find this incredibly bland, this song, but it was, I think he'd made himself all ripped, hadn't he? He'd kind of like got fed up of being called the fat one, I take that, and gone, right, I'm going to go and work out. So I think the video was mainly him in a vest top, flexing his muscles on an Italian terrace in black and white. God, isn't it weird how you remember things of no consequence in your life?
It's the second video. The second video that's, they obviously copied me, what I was doing at the time.
I know, we were all like that, weren't we? It was just a look.
I don't remember anything about this, so I just remember he did some really bland solo stuff.
Yeah.
But the next number one, though, is a very big one. It was, how many weeks? Is it 7? Gosh. Yes, it's 7 weeks, the next one. It was Wannabe by Spice Girls.
Oh, If You Want to Be My Lover. Yeah, they came from like nowhere, didn't they? Allegedly. Although, like you said, there was like years of preparation behind it.
It took a while for me to actually buy. I think I do own the first 2 albums, but I don't think I got around to buying them until perhaps the second album. It took me a while to admit that I could like indie music, but also I could like pop. It was that, and people like Britney Spears, where I was like, "Oh, come on, Baby One More Time is clearly a really wonderful song. I can't pretend I don't like it." It's something.
Yeah, I think we were ripe for it. We needed a girl band. We'd previously only had like Eternal, who were okay, but Spice Girls kind of rewrote the book, didn't they? Of pop, girl pop. Which was good.
When they had who do you think you are? I used to sing, pick it, lick it, roll it, flick it. Who do you think you are?
Always the 7-year-old.
Yeah. But my friend Callum and I, we used to go to this club in Camberley, because by then I was in Surrey, and it was just a little sort of local club, really. And the DJ played far too much what he liked, and by 97, there was a lot of that sort of, what's his name, Miles, the piano type dancey stuff, and long extended remixes, and it was, and then for about an hour he'd play stuff like Love Shack and maybe something by Madness or Spice Girls song, which wasn't really in his usual sort of, and the floor everything would go mad. It would go mad. People loved all that. And then as soon as he put the other music on, it would just go back to being half full again.
I think it's a pop DNA thing. I think that genetically, those kind of songs, no matter what you're into, if they play them, you can't help yourself. You have to go. It's like that James track, Sit Down. I'm not into indie music at all, but whenever that came on, it was like everybody would go to the dance floor and sit down on the floor, and it was like all ironic. I think you just can't help it. There was a Motive 8 remix of Wannabe, which is basically 8 minutes of pure mental pop, which is fantastic.
Is it controversial to say that it's not my favourite Spice Girls song, even off that album? It's a bit like when Hearsay did that song that was really big for Hearsay. I like 2 or 3 of the other singles far more than I like the one that was really big for them.
Yeah, I have to say I prefer other Spice Girls singles to Wannabe. It's kind of like, it's like if I never heard Kylie sing I Should Be So Lucky again, I would be fine with that. If I never heard Wannabe ever again, then I would be fine with that. I don't hate it. I just it it was of its time, and I preferred other ones.
And who's that? Oh, who's the band? The Irish girls.
Bewitched.
Bewitched. I don't like that first one, and then they go into a little jig in the middle. But I love
I
roller
like my dad. That one, yes.
Roller coaster. I love because they only sort of go Irish, at least just for a couple of times. It's nothing wrong with the Irish. It's just that it's so sort of tourist.
No, it's
tourist
like
Irish.
the first big novelty hit, isn't it, that they have, and then they can't really escape it. But the other stuff is better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Next number one for 1 week is it Flava or Flavor by Peter Andre? I can't remember.
Oh, flavor! If you go in hip hop, it's the flavor. No, it's not. That was like Cockney. The flavor, love. Flava. I don't know.
No, you see. But the weird thing is, he did have a bit of a resurgence. Well, as a personality in the noughties because of
he did because of the celebrity thing. But I remember I went to Australia in probably 90, and he was massive in Australia. And I remember buying his cassette album and thinking, I quite, and it was much different than Mysterious Girl and the stuff that he released. And then so when he came out here, I was like, oh yeah, I know him. Obviously not personally. I was aware of his music, but then this kind of like oiled walnut with greased hair appeared, and I was like, oh, what's all that about? I didn't realize he had singles in 92, 93. He had an album just called Peter Andre. I wonder if that's the one that he had a big hit in Australia called Gimme Little Sign. Yeah, and Funky Junkie, and a couple of ones. And then here I wasn't a fan.
At some point, I'm hoping to do sort of. I don't know how many years I'll do per episode, but I want to talk about the charts in Australia and skip all the things that are the same as here. But I want to sort of pinpoint the sort of completely very Australian bands that did really well, which we've never heard of.
I'll never forgive Peter Andre for Insania. That's horrible song that came out of the jungle that he wrote when he was in there. It was awful.
Got to number 3.
Oh.
Yeah, because he had Mysterious Girl and Flava and another one which I can't say because he had some other hits this year, so I won't jump ahead. But he had far more top 10 hits than he sort of had top 10 hits until 1998, and then there was a big gap to 2004. But he didn't seem to have any flop hits, which explains his I don't know what he was doing in those 6 years. But and then he had 1, 2, 3, at least 3 more top 10 hits after he sort of resurged.
Including the hideous duet with his wife at the time, Whole New World. Oh dear!
His last top 20 hit was in 2010, Defender, and that number 14.
Oh, good for him.
But yes, he was very oily.
He was oily.
It looked like he just emerged from one of those was it those oil wrestling type?
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't get it. I just didn't get the oiliness and the I would imagine that video there was like an oil slick around him in the sea where he was coming out of the water. Fish floating to the top.
Seal. So after Peter Andre, we have you've mentioned this already, the Fugees, Ready or Not, for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then we had Deep Blue Something, Breakfast at Tiffany's, which was only for 1 week, but that was one that was everywhere.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And again, I think they were a one-hit wonder. It was, yeah.
I always get them confused with the people who did the Moon and Back.
Savage Garden.
Savage Garden. I always get them confused with Savage Garden. Yeah.
Didn't know. Just because the music was kind of
jangly, guitar-y pop stuff.
they did have another single which got to number 102. Now you're used to things getting to 102 these days, but that's quite a big drop down. They had a single called "Page Me Wolverine."
Good title.
Didn't chart, but
bless.
Anyway, where were we? Oh, here we go. Next up, we had the Chemical Brothers with "Setting Sun" for 1 week. That was the one with Noel Gallagher doing the vocal.
Oh yes, I remember that one. Yes,
I might even have bought that. Might have been one where I did buy the album, because was that the same one that had "Hey Boy, Hey Girl" on?
Might well have been, because I think I bought "Hey Boy, Hey Girl" because that was like had the hook in it, didn't it? It had the
"Let Forever Be." It might even been a different album, but I can't. Oh no, yes, it's probably it was around the same time, but they did quite a lot with Noel Gallagher. I think they did at least another song with Noel Gallagher. After that, for 1 week, we had "Words" by Boyzone. Bee Gees cover.
I never got Boyzone. I just thought they were, I do like good pop, but I just never thought they did good pop. It was cover versions, all blandy, beige stuff.
It wasn't like Girls Aloud, where they did their cover versions that got them quite big hits, but then a lot of the other singles were quite weird ones. With Boyzone, it was almost, oh, thank goodness they're doing a cover, but I still hate it. But because their original stuff was no better. But, we got the Spice Girls again after this. We're up to October now, and this is "Say You'll Be There" for 2. I definitely
much prefer that than "Wannabe."
They had a good video where they were all sort of in the desert.
Yes, and had like pseudonyms like Miss Firecracker and stuff like I do, and they tied the boy to the top of their car. And there was a story that when they were offered their record contract with Virgin, instead of going to sign it, they sent 5 blow up dolls in a taxi. I don't know whether that's true, but I'd like to think it was.
Yeah. Oh dear. Our next number 1 for 2 weeks is, I think we had them last year, but it's Robson and Jerome.
Oh God, were they still around?
Yeah. What Becomes of the Broken Hearted, Saturday Night in Movies, You'll Never Walk Alone, some sort of, they probably did sung them all and merged them all together into one
big mega mix.
I was going to say mega mess, but
yeah, for the grannies.
I still think 1996 is looking better than 1995, but there is some hiccups, but they're not quite as bad. But and we've got the Prodigy again for 2 weeks afterwards. We've got Breathe. So yeah,
I like that one.
But Peter Andre is back with "I Feel You" for 2 weeks.
No recollection of that one whatsoever.
No. I don't really know. I sort of remember a little bit of flavour, and I remember "Mysterious Girl." I don't think I can remember much else. But
no, I can't really.
Now, I presume this was an original. Oh, yes, it says it was written by the band. A different beat, Boyzone, for 1 week. So, don't really remember it, but
I don't either. That's nice that they had an original hit. I'm such a horror. I'm such a boy band snob. I'm like, no, I don't like you, but I like you.
Yeah, I don't. I think I liked Summer 5, and I quite like the Backstreet Boys, but never as far as, I don't even think I bought the songs. I think I kind of
quite liked them, but I don't. Yeah, I never got quite that excited. The next, we got two more number ones. We're into December, but this one is a sad one because it's to do with a horrible thing that happened. It's Knocking on Heaven's Door, Dunblane.
Right, yes.
Massacre. Where some kids got shot.
Yeah.
It was quite a while afterwards because I'm thinking, I'm sure I remember this bit because I used to have to scan the papers at work. I'm sure I can sort of picture myself in the office that was my job at the beginning of the year. And sure enough, it happened in March. So it wasn't an automatic thing, which it usually is with tragedies like this. But quite a few months later. The last number one of the year was the Spice Girls again for 3 weeks with Two Become One.
Oh yeah, I liked it. Yeah,
it sort of because they had. Let me have a look. Yeah, I'm probably saying too much, but they did have big number ones for the next 2 years around Christmas time. So
I had a bit of an issue with Two Become One because on the album, the Victoria Beckham's part, she sings something like boys. No, I can't remember. They changed. No, I think I was. So on the album, it was something like "Boys and girls look good together, take it or leave it." But on the actual release, they changed. They obviously removed that because they didn't want to alienate anybody. So it became something like "Love will bring us back together, take it or leave it." So I didn't actually have a problem with it. I appreciated the change. You see, I get something in my head and think, no, I hated that song. And then when I think about it, go, no, actually, I didn't, because they did something else.
Yeah. Before we go to America and see what happened there, I'm just going to look and see other songs that were big that didn't quite. This was, TLC had Creep, but it was called Creep 96, so whether this was a re-release.
Oh, I like that song, and I like that album, that Crazy Sexy Cool. Crazy Sexy Cool album.
Yeah. I would think that 96 was a bit of it was sort of, I think, sort of aficionados tend to think of it as being like the second wave of Britpop, so you're getting bands that are kind of doing well off the back of some of those bands like Blow and Pulp and Oasis from 94, 95, and you've got people like Cast, Sandstorm, and they had quite a lot of hits, Cast, but that you kind of felt they were inspired by, they perhaps even, I can think of a few bands that did singles, and they almost changed their sound, because Lush, who did Single Girl, and Lady Killer, they was sort of had sort of top 20 hits, but their original star was sort of shoegazing, ambient-y type, and even there was a band called Mice that I quite liked, who'd never had any hits, but that it was the lead singer from All About Eve, and it was and that's the only thing I actually own by her, because I liked her voice doing a sort of Britpoppy, sort of sleepery type sound. And I was never really into All About Eve, but I guess All About Eve had finished by then, and they kind of, we need to do a Britpop type album.
Yeah, people didn't they? They kind of. I remember Kathy Dennis. She went all Britpop, didn't she? And it tanked completely because people were like, "What are you doing that for?"
But I love. She did a single called West End Pad, which I love that song. That's one of I just love that song. And I mean, I think that got in the top 20 just about. But that's sort of, again, it's quite different. It's probably more what she wanted to do than what she did, because she wasn't exactly 18 when she did her songs. She probably it makes you wonder how much her early hits were her kind of going, oh, we need to do this sort of music, and maybe she was more of a sort of, because she did a cover of Waterloo Sunset and things like that.
Yes, she did. Yeah,
or
whether it was quite a cynical thing to go, right, that's going out of fashion, so what do we do now?
It could be, it could be that it was all cynical. Every she's like, we need to change style again now. Sort of thing. But other bands that did well, and I saw this band live. That would have been '95, but anyway, the Blue Tones, Slight Return, got to number 2. Radiohead starting to have hits. Number 5, Street Spirit. Meatloaf, Not a Dry Eye in the House. Number 7. Lighthouse Family, Lifted. Before didn't really like them, a bit too middle of the road for me.
Yeah, there was, I mean, if anything, it was very eclectic, wasn't it? We had a lot of different genres of music that were popular. It wasn't just all one thing. There was pop, there was indie, there was R&B, there was middle of the road. So yeah, it's good that there was a lot of different stuff.
It feel like there was a lot of different things going on. Joan Osborne, One of Us.
Oh yeah,
number 6. That's quite popular. E17 is still having top 10 hits. I Want to Be a Hippie by Technohead. Is that one that I want to be a hippie and I want to be?
Oh yeah, in a horrible rave style.
Mariah Carey was having top 5 hits. Open Arms. Oh, Children by Robert Miles. That was the one he did quite a lot of songs that sounded kind of like a template from that song.
Yes, yeah.
Bjork had number 8 hit with Hyper Ballad. And Blur, Stereotypes. Terrorvision had a top 10 hit. Just going down. Supergrass, Going Out, number 5. Stupid Girl, Garbage, number 4. I saw Garbage when that was when I was still in Birmingham, and I think we went to see Garbage. The friend that I made who had moved into my old uni friend's room moved out, and I only made friends with him like on the last, almost like the last couple of nights that he was there, because we kept saying, oh, we must go for a drink, we must go for a drink. But he split up with his girlfriend and was not really sociable, but then sort of said, no, I'm moving now. I did say we go for a drink, let's go for a drink. And we got on really well. Then after he'd moved out, we used to go meet up once a week in Birmingham after work. And I ended up sort of knowing him for years and going to his wedding and everything. It was a real weird sort of way to make a friendship, just on the off chance of one sort of last minute drink. But we went to see Garbage in Wolverhampton, and it was when Stupid Girl was in the charts, and they sung it as Stupid Boy, and then that week on Top of the Pops, that's the version that they sung it as Stupid Boy on Top of the Pops.
So
I still enjoy Garbage to this day. They still do quite interesting stuff.
They've just got a new album out, haven't they?
Right, it's quite a rocky, sort of loud one as well.
An angry album.
Angry album, yes, that's a good description. Right, what else we got? Gabrielle, going for Gabrielle. I don't know, Give Me a Little More Time, number 5, and Shed 7 going for gold.
I didn't mind Gabrielle. She was nice. Yeah. Which I don't know whether it's a compliment or not. She was nice.
I think I think maybe if it had been a year or two different, I might have liked her more. I don't think I ever owned anything, but I did like some. I did like some of her songs. But there's also quite a lot of dance coming in. Like there was the X-Files theme.
Yeah.
To a sort of California Love by Tupac featuring Dr. Dre. They Don't Care About Us, Michael Jackson. Walking Wounded, Everything But the Girl. Peaches by the Presidents of the United States of America. That's a mouthful. Cecilia by Suggs, a cover version.
I vaguely remember that, yeah.
Well, this was also the time when Manic Street Preachers sort of had their moved up from being indie darlings to being mainstream because they had Design for Life.
Stadium fillers.
Yeah, stadium fillers. Goldfinger by Ash. Before by the Pet Shop Boys. These are all top 10. Charmless Man by Blur. Black Grape. They came out of Happy Mondays.
I didn't mind Black Grape. I think they had a couple of hits.
Yeah. Bryan Adams, The Only Thing That Looks Good on Me Is You. What
an awful title for a song.
It's like sort of a couple of years later, I went on a really long. Back in '93, I'd done a really long hike with a friend of mine down the Offa's Dyke Path in Wales, and we never finished it. And I always promised I'd finish it with him, which we never even finished it on the second time, but we did a lot more of it. And I made a sort of compilation of. I think this was more the era of. That don't impress me much and things like that. But and the Britney songs, and I just made a tape which was full of really bouncy, energetic songs. And I remember I was always lagging behind on these hikes, but when I put on the pop music, I swear I had twice as much energy, and was sort of bouncing through the fields. And the power of pop music is very underappreciated, I think.
But not Bryan Adams.
No, not Bryan Adams. Although I did like that Mel C one.
Yeah. And did he do one with Chicane, that dance band, Don't Give It Up, or something like that?
That sounds familiar. That Mysterious Girl by Peter Andre only made number 2, but I don't know why I thought that was another number 1.
Yeah, I did for some reason.
Celine Dion having hits. Louise, Naked.
I like that one by Louise. Yeah.
A few Ocean Colour Scene ones. I remember Chris Evans used to play them quite a lot.
Oh God, wasn't that the theme tune for TFI Friday?
Riverboat.
An Ocean Colour. Yeah.
Yeah. Belinda Carlisle, In Too Deep. I like that one. That was around the time when some of her singles were written by Pear from Roxette.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Nice Guy Eddie by Sleeper. I like that one. I think that was about a man choking on an olive.
Cheerful.
Everything Must Go by Manic Street Preachers. An Honest Morissette. Head Over Feet. Freedom by Robbie Williams. Trash by Suede. Peacock Suit, Paul Weller. There's such a diverse range of
lots of different kinds.
Whereas you wouldn't look at the charts now and see, the Smurfs had a song called "I've Got a Little Puppy" that got to number 4.
I have no recollection from that, and that sounds wrong.
Yeah,
that song sounds wrong.
And then Only One Place Difference. You got REM. It's sort of you just wouldn't get that these days. You have
it wouldn't.
REM.
Happen.
Or Suede or Chemical Brothers or all in the same chart. It just wouldn't happen. And just speeding down. There's people like Tony Braxton singing Unbreak My Heart.
Oh, I like that. And not so much the slow version, but the dance remix. That was a banger, as the kids say nowadays.
Well, the Backstreet Boys do come in around this time. You have the Woolpackers. I think, are they from Oakdale Farm? To be fair, if the chart is diverse, you do get dreadful things like that, or Robson Jerome. But I'd rather have that than just have one type of music.
Yeah.
At least you think maybe the next thing that comes up might be good. But the last one we got Jamiroquai, Cosmic Girl, and Beautiful South. Don't Marry Her.
Have Me.
Yeah. Elton John and Luciano Pavarotti. Live Like Horses.
No recollection of that one at all.
Dear. So very quickly, I'm going to go through the albums. So big albums. Actually, it's not. A lot of these must have stayed for. Well, one of them stayed for 10 weeks, but
As I say, there's only about sort of a dozen albums that were number one. Oh no, I'm totally wrong. Where does that go? No, I'm talking about 1995. 1995 only has right. Okay, so that's rubbish. 1996, the albums that did well, and this one was at number one for 11 weeks. Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, I owned that.
Yeah. And then, this is the list of top 10 albums. Okay, I thought this was going to be I just wanted number ones.
Give me the number ones.
We'll be here all day if I have to read every single album that's in the top 10. Let me try again. UK albums. Number one album in 1996. Because I was thinking, there's quite a lot of albums here. No, it says there's top 10. Must be a list somewhere. UK albums. Okay, this is list of. Why do you have to be so difficult? Okay, I think this is going to be a list of number one albums in the 90s, and then I can that's what I was. It was the album version of what I was reading. Right. Okay. Whew. So, right, our number one albums. Obviously, there are loads of other albums doing well, but we can't look after everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, the first album in January '96 is "What's the Story, Morning Glory" by Oasis, which I think that had come out in late, like October, November, because I went to see Pulp in I think very late October 1995. And my friend had the new Oasis album, and I was kind of like, I'm not sure. I think I was slightly over them or getting towards being over them. Then I heard the album and thought, all right, no, we'll get it. But it was still doing well. I guess they still, because as we discovered, they didn't release "Don't Look Back in Anger" until that probably gave it a bit of a burst, and then. Following that, we've got the Blue Tones, "Expecting to Fly."
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of good. A lot of these bands were doing very well in the album charts as well. Then the Oasis came back with "What's the Morning Glory" again for another 3 weeks. They had 6 weeks at the start of the year. And then "Falling Into You" by Celine Dion, which I think is one of the few Celine Dion songs that I have ever admitted to liking.
Really? Yeah. Do you know my favourite, and it's cheesy, the favourite Celine Dion single is Miss. Oh, I've forgotten the title of it. Seriously, Misjudge? No. Misfit? No. Misled. Yeah, and she says, actually sings the line, "If I've been dissed, I don't spend much time on what might have been." Celine Dion used the word dissed in a track. I love it.
Mm. I'm sure there are other ones. I take against because I guess in some territories her version of "Power of Love" was bigger than
the original.
The original, but I as the Jennifer Rush version is one of the few sort of power ballads that. Well, I do quite like a lot of power ballads, but that's a power ballad that I think there's nobody does it better than Jennifer Rush. But then we have Anthology 2 by the Beatles, and then Greatest Hits by Take That, because that Bee Gees cover was just the sort of extra track on that Greatest Hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we have Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette for 2 weeks. 1977 by Ash. Older by George Michael.
Mm.
And then Load by Metallica, which I don't know anything about.
No, I don't either.
Then we have 18 Till I Die by Bryan Adams.
Does that have the one with the awful song in it?
I imagine it must do, yeah.
Nothing looks good on me apart from your skin.
Yeah, something like that. Then Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill again. And then Recurring Dream by Crowded House, which I think is the Greatest Hits, which I'm a sort of medium level Crowded House fan. Well, I had the Alanis Morissette one as well. Then Alanis Morissette actually comes back again for the third time. That's the longest time. She comes back for 8 weeks.
Wow, there must have been a big single out then, or a tour.
Yeah. Then we have Suede coming up, which I love that album. And then that had all the sort of ones like Trash and the Beautiful Ones, and quite a few top 10 hits on that one. Then we have REM New Adventures in Hi-Fi, which I definitely bought that. Then we have K by Kula Shaker, who were sort of Brit poppy group, but with a sort of Indian tinge.
Yes, they were. Yes, Crispian
Mills
Dry or something like that. Crispian Mills Dry.
Yeah, because he was the son of one of them, of John Mills. Well,
he was the
grandson. He was the grandson of, but he one of those other actor, because is it Juliet Mills and another Mills anyway.
Yeah, something like that.
Then we have Natural by Peter Andre. Greatest hit. Sorry, spit it out. Then we have Greatest Hits by Simply Red. Blue is the Colour by The Beautiful South, who I didn't have that album, but I have various Beautiful South things.
I think most households will have had Carrying Up the Charts, the best of the Beautiful South.
And 0898, their album from about 92 is very good, but that's almost the greatest hits in that it just has so many good album tracks. It's funny how sometimes there's a band you like or a singer you like, and it's just you just love one album, and as much as you try, you can't find an album
that you like. Yeah,
quite anywhere near as much. Then we have Boyzone, A Different Beat, Spice Girls, Spice. At this point, they're only number one for a week with it. I imagine that will come back. But Robson and Jerome, Take Two, No Thank You.
No Thank You.
And then Spice Girls is back again. Oh, yes. Spice Girls is back in for 8 weeks. That sort of takes us right to the end of the year. So
not as poppy. So the singles charts was much more pop based and dance based than the album charts. I don't think people were buying albums by dance and pop artists, or if they did, they weren't number ones.
Yeah, I mean, Crowded House and Ash and Kula Shaker. I don't remember seeing top 10 singles by them. They might have done. I might have just missed it. But right, before we finish, we just need to pop over to America to see what was going on with them. So their first number one is "One Sweet Day" by Mariah Carey and Boys to Men.
Oh yes, yeah, that's like pure sugar in music form.
It was number one from January till the middle of March. It's a long time. Followed by "Because You Loved Me" by Celine Dion.
Oh,
for well over a month. "Always Be My Baby" by Mariah Carey.
Don't mind that one.
Then I think, looking at this, I much prefer what we had in the variety we had in the UK. Then between middle of May and early July, "Crossroads" by Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Oh, I remember that song. "Meet You at the Crossroads." That unfortunately, a couple of years later, was it what was that awful boy band that we had in this country? That Simon Cowell put together. There was about 12 of them in it. No, it was they were supposed to be like more hip and street cred. And their song was "Flip Reverse It." They're one of their songs. But I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember their name. They did a cover of it.
Yeah.
Blazing Squad.
Oh, that's right.
That's it. Yes.
It got to number 8 in the UK. The Bones, Thugs and Harmony one. Then we have "How Do You Want It" by Tupac, which has that California love on the beat.
Yeah, California Dreaming. See, I'm aging myself. California Love, yes.
Which I think was the one I remember of, but not quite sure whether they released it a different way round over here. Then we've got "You're Making Me High" by Tony Braxton for 1 week. Gosh, we're nearly through the end of the year. Gosh, some of these ones they're around so long.
Yeah, I think in America, because they have so many different charts, don't they? They have like R&B charts, they have adult listening, contemporary, they have pop, they have hot dance. You can never really get they have the Hot 100, don't they?
Yeah, this is what I'm reading from.
Yeah, but they have so many different variations. It's hard to...
Because the next number one goes from August, right at the start of August, till right at the start of November, and it's "The Macarena" by Los Del Rios.
Wow. Gosh.
I mean, the Macarena was a big hit, but not for...
But it was a novelty hit, wasn't it? It wasn't a serious hit. But then that's weird about music, isn't it? Something just catches, and, you think, well, who would have thought?
Yeah. Then we've got "No Diggity" for 5 weeks.
I liked that, being a massive hip-hop fan myself, but I did like that.
And then for 4 weeks, we have "Unbreak My Heart" by Tony Braxton.
Yeah, I like it. I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't hate it. I don't think I bought it, but I wonder if the albums show up more. So album-wise, we have... No, let me just check. This is number ones. We have "Daydream" by Mariah Carey. We have "Waking to Exhale" soundtrack by Whitney Houston. We have "Jagged Little Pill." We have "All Eyes on Me" by Tupac. We have "Jagged Little Pill" again. We have "Anthology 2," the Beatles. "Jagged Little Pill" again. And then we have "Evil Empire" by Rage Against the Machine. "Fairweather Johnson" by Hootie and the Blowfish. Who I think
they were massive, weren't they, in America? We never caught on here, did they?
Yeah, I have a feeling that people would mention them and like, oh, have you not heard of them? They're really big, but they're never big here.
No, I remember them from an episode of Friends when they went to see them.
Yeah,
but you didn't see them.
Yeah. And then sometimes things like Charmed, or even Buffy, they would have a little bit later. They'd have like a band come into their
and play.
Because I've been watching Charmed recently, and there's quite a lot of sort of weird people that turn up, and you think, gosh, I don't think that really helped being on Charmed. It never really. I think the Cranberries appeared on an episode of Charmed slightly after when they were starting to not get such big hits. And I don't think it reversed their fortunes.
It would have been some sort of record company executive going, I know what we'll do. We'll put you on this show. It's hot right now. You'll get London, and it's like
witches and stuff.
Yeah.
Then we have The Score by the Fugees, Load by Metallica, I Was Written by Nas. No, it was written by Nas. Beats, Rhythms, and Life by a Tribe Called Quest. Jagged Little Pill again. No Code by Pearl Jam. Home Again by New Edition. Isn't New Edition like a 70s band?
New Edition were a boy band with Bobby Brown, and sort of mid 80s, late 80s. I would imagine this, if we're talking 96, it was probably one of those like comeback, reformed albums when they reformed for a bit.
A bit like when Robbie came back to take that.
Yeah.
Just for an album. Falling Into You by Celine Dion. From the Muddy Banks of the Wish Car by Nirvana. That must have been a live album or something. Yes, it's a live album. But just don't think I've even heard of that. Falling Into You by Celine Dion again. Recovering the Satellites by Counting Crows. Who I think only ever had one hit over here. Was it Counting Crows who did? Was it Mr. Jones or was it I get confused.
I don't think the was by somebody else.
Yeah, I think it was Mr. Jones then probably. I think that was a minor hit over here. Best of Volume 1 by Van Halen. Anthology 3 by the Beatles. The Don Killuminati. The 7 Day Theory by Machiavel.
Never heard of that one.
They're on the same record label as Snoop Doggy Dogg, so it's probably rap.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the next one is The Dog Father by Snoop Doggy Dogg. Then Razor Blade Suitcase by Bush. Now, they were a British band.
Were they?
Yes, formed in London.
Were they girls? No, it had what's-his-face in it that have ended up marrying Gwen Stefani.
That's right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they might have had like minor hits. I think they might have done better in America. Then weirdly, the next album that followed Bush was Tragic Kingdom by No Doubt. So maybe they met at some sort of crossover.
Yeah.
That sort of ceremony. Here's your number one prize or something.
Yeah, I'm handing it over to you.
And then I'm going to marry you later.
But you don't know it yet.
Wally, thank you very much for discussing 1996 with me. I hope you'll come back for 97 at some point.
Oh, try and stop me. I think 97 gets even more pop, if I recall.
I'm going to give you, I'm not going to say the names of the songs, but I'm going to give the listeners a little sort of some of the names of people that did well in 97. We've got Tori Amos, White Town, Blur, LL Cool J, U2, No Doubt, Spice Girls, Chemical Brothers, R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, Gary Barlow, Olive, Eternal, Hanson, Puff Daddy, Oasis, Puff Daddy again, Will Smith, The Verve, Elton John, Spice Girls, Aqua, various artists, the Teletubbies, and the Spice Girls again. So, yes, some names to be excited about, and some to cringe about, and some to go, who?
Who? I will get my Teletubbies Greatest Hits album out in preparation.
There's a lot to get through. Listeners, we're about to say goodbye, but as you know, after the theme, we will be getting Ick in to sing us some of the hits of 1996. So, as we know, Ick has a certain reputation, and I'm sure he'll live up to it. So, anyway, well, thanks, Lee, and yes, we'll speak to you again soon.
Looking forward to it.
Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Paul, that was a good episode. It's always fun to hear you talking with your friend Lee. Yes. It's good that we've got him to talk to about some of the later 90s music and into the noughties. He's on a whole host of podcasts. Oh yes, Paul, you never asked him about that this time. Ah, well, no, you're right, I didn't. Let me see, I've got a list. He's on Chewing the Cud. That's like a video, well, that's like a TV show, sort of, in Manchester, but it's also a podcast, sort of community TV, sort of. Yes, Paul, I think I understand. What else is he in? Time to Talk, Sunday Late and Live, Pop Gaze, The Golden Age of Pop Culture, or if not a regular host, he's doing spots on all of those different shows. It's a lot. It is quite a lot, isn't it, Paul? I'm going to have to catch up with some of the other shows he's involved in. I never realised he was going to become such a prolific podcaster. Well, I'm very pleased about it. Oh, yes, Paul. Yes. So where's Ick? Oh, I'm sure he'll be arriving soon. We've got him to sing some of the big hits of 1996. Yes, Paul. Oh dear. Do you think his heart is still in it? Do I think his heart is still in singing the songs of 1996? Well, I did say that Yeti Uncle John could take over. Oh, Paul, what did he say to that? He just said that he'd do his best. He just said he'd do his best. He'd be here. Oh dear, Will. I can hear the theme music coming. Yes, so can I. Well, hopefully when we come back, he'll be here. Oh gosh, I hope so. Well, if not, then it'll have to be you and I. You and I doing the singing. Yes, you and I doing the singing. Yes. Oh, blimey. Oh, God, it's Paul. Oh, dear.
I gotta go now. Bye. I want to go with you. Gotta go. Bye. Goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear. What's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
Well, Paul, where is he? I don't know. I think we might have to do it ourselves.
No, Paul, do not worry. I'm here.
Oh, thank goodness. We were worried. Yes, we were worried.
It's okay. I'll sing some songs from 1996. Spaceman. Outer spaceman. Do-do-do-do-do. Spaceman. Ooh-do-do-do-do-do. That's the spaceman song. So Carrie can wait. He knows it's too late. Do-de-do-de-do-do-be-do. So right away. Don't look back in anger. I heard her say. I don't think I approve of singing How Deep Is Your Love, because it might have been a hit now. It might have got #1, but, well, you know. I don't care how high they take that version got. It'll never be more famous than the Bee Gees version.
Well, you might be right, Ick, but just move on if you don't want to sing it.
No, I'm going on strike.
Just on that song?
Yes, Paul.
Okay.
I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter. Oh dear, Paul. I'm not sure that one works very well. It's all in the production.
It is rather. Yes, I don't think it works that well a cappella.
I got what?
Oh, don't worry.
Return of the Mac. Return of the Mac. Let's go to return of the Mac. Do. Just a little bit. A little bit more. Just a little bit. You know what I'm looking for. Just a little bit. A little bit more. Just a little bit. Do. Three lions on a shirt. Doobie. 20 years of hurt. Oh dear. Doobie. Oh dear. I can't sing that song. It makes me laugh. These people take football far too seriously.
Yeah, they do. 20 years of hurt. Oh, bless them. Oh, pat them on the head.
Oh, Paul, you'll get into trouble.
Yes.
I don't think I can do Killing Me Softly either.
Well, that is up to you. I sympathise.
Yes, well, you know.
I do know, yes.
Let's move on. I tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I want a zig. Ah, if I gotta be my lover, you gotta get with my friends. Little booty, and it never ends.
Ick, are you okay?
Oh, yes, Paul. Oh, I feel a little faint.
Oh, why don't you sit down? We don't have to do any more.
Oh, I think I might do. Oh, yes. Oh, it's quite warm today.
Yes, I know. Don't worry, Ick. I'm here. I can sing the last few songs.
Oh, please, Uncle John, if you will.
Where were we? Oh, yeah. If you're going to be my lover, you got to stay with my friends. Drinking love forever. Friendship never ends. That one. What else? Do. Say you'll be mine. I don't recognise a lot of these songs. I don't know where I was in 1996. Is it all right, Yeti Uncle John? Would you like to look at some of the other songs of the year? Yeah, all right. Let's have a look. Sometimes the songs that didn't get to number one are the better ones. Well, that is sometimes the case, yes, Yeti Uncle John. Let me have a look. Is that one. I can't remember it though. Oh dear. This is very last minute, Paul. I'm afraid I'm not well prepared. It's fine. Ick prepares and yet still gets most of it wrong.
I heard that, Paul. You can do 1997 on your own.
Sorry, Ick. I've just been cheeky. Oh, yeah, that was a bit cheeky even for you, Paul. Go on, just pick something quick. We've got to finish. Let me have a look. This X-Files theme. No, I can't do that. Well, I'm just going now, Paul. Was that because you're worried that I'm going to ask you to sing, Cromitty? Badly. I'm going now. Yeti Uncle John, he'll sort it out. I just don't recognise half these songs. I even recognised the titles, but I couldn't sing half of them. It's been a long time. It has been a long time, yes. Oh dear. The theme for Mission Impossible. Got to number 7. Diddler. I think we should stop there. I think perhaps we should. What else? I like this one. Always breaking my heart. Always breaking my heart. Oh, yeah. I think that was Belinda Carlisle. Always breaking my heart. That's right, Paul. Got to number 8, apparently. Oh, look at this one. If It Makes You Happy by Sheryl Crow. Number 9. I like that one. Yeah, I can't remember it, though. I can, but I'm not prepared to attempt it. Oh, dear. I think we should just tiptoe away. Yes, maybe. Let's just tiptoe. The listeners have probably gone off to make a cup of tea already anyway. Right, oh, stupid girl. Stupid girl. What about this one? Here she comes, the beautiful ones, the beautiful ones. La, 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 la. Here she comes, the beautiful ones, the beautiful ones. Oh. That's Suede. Number 8 again. All these songs are like number 8. Yeah, I think all the best songs got to number 8, or around that mark. Maybe. Always one. Do a design for your life. A design for your life. Manic Street Preachers. Yes, name that tune. Well, I don't think we can do name that tune, seeing you just said the lyrics. Fair enough. Maybe next time Ike should just do an instrumental. We have to guess.
I should never do it again. I'm handing in my notice.
Dear. Sorry, listeners. It's probably best we go now. Yes. Goodbye for now, listeners. Goodbye for now. Oh, what is this one? Break my heart, say you love me again. Break my love, dum dum da da, but to get out of my way. Undry these tears, I've cried so many nights, and break my heart. Pretty good, eh? Award-winning. Absolutely award-winning, Yeti, Uncle John.
What a lot of nonsense.
Ike. Oh, you just can't please everyone all of the time. Oh, dear, oh dear.
Yeesh, I hope that Shy Yeti bathed today. That's all I can say.
Starting recording is recording. Right. I hope all my Wikipedia pages are okie dokie. I'll do the usual intro, and got all my Wikipedia bits and pieces up. You'll probably like more than I will, but
I've had a quick look at the year, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
It might be, but I haven't actually looked too deep, so I might find there's more I like than I did last year. But a lot of the ones I like are hidden behind. I just like hidden behind the number ones, and they are still hits. But we'll see. Okie dokie.
Oh my God, there's nothing I like better is when another new episode of the Shy Life podcast comes out. 463. Okay, back up, everybody. Nothing to see here. It's just another episode of the Shy Life podcast.